Ready?
Yeah.
Welcome. This is the work session of the Mayor and Council meeting. It is April 27th, 2023. Welcome everybody in the audience. Welcome everybody who is at home. Linda, please read the Open Public Meetings Act announcement.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the municipal building and on the borough website, published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year, and copies are sent to the Ridgewood News and Star Ledger. Notice of this meeting by the April 18th, 2023 Sunshine Notice was sent to the record, the Ridgewood News and Star Ledger, and has been posted on the public bulletin board in the municipal building and borough website. Councilwoman Homan.
Here.
Councilwoman Lovasolo.
Here.
Councilman O'Connell.
Here.
Councilman O'Toole.
Here.
Councilman Yacarino.
Here.
Councilman Delavatio. Absent. Mayor Wilzinski.
Here. Okay, and I also want to welcome Tom Borgi in place of Ray West this evening. Next, we have a presentation from Appraisal Systems. They're going to talk to us about our appraisals in town, our reevaluations that we have, our rolling reevaluations that we have every year. So we look forward to a great presentation. The floor is yours.
Great. So everyone got a copy of these two pages?
Yeah.
So the first page is essentially a snapshot of the tax impact of the reassessment that we literally just put on the books for the 2023 tax year. But before I get to that, I just want to kind of take a step back and answer the question that might be asked either by anyone from the public or anyone from the council as to, why are we doing this and what benefit is this to the town? And that really is summarized by the chart that Sarah put together for me. By the way, this is Sarah. She is the project manager of Allendale. She's been doing the hands-on, the hard work, so to speak. And she compiled this information for me to present to you tonight. And it was very telling to me. So if you look on the spreadsheet, what I did in a kind of a quick and dirty summary is I took some interesting statistics for 6 years, 3 years, 2018, 19, and 20, which was prior to us engaging in this program of annual reassessment. And then, of course, 21, 22, and 23. Those are the 3 years that we just did under this annual reassessment.
Oh, is this on the second page?
The second page,
Okay.
yeah. I'm
I'm
sorry.
like, I don't.
So, one of the questions that's always raised is, well, if you're doing an annual reassessment every year, the assessments are going to change every year, and in a typical market, they're going to go up every year. So, are our taxes going to go up every year? And quite frankly, the answer is no, not necessarily. First of all, the taxes will go up every year anyway, whether you do a reassessment or not, because it's essentially if the budget goes up, the taxes go up. You don't need a reassessment or revaluation for your taxes to go up. But if you look at the 3 years prior and you look at the fourth column, which shows what your average assessment was in those years. Now, remember, you're not doing any reassessment, no revaluation. So essentially, the average assessment is unchanged from 2018 to 2020 at 660. That's what the average residential assessment was in those 3 years. But obviously, your tax rate goes up every year because the budget goes up every year. So even though the average assessment didn't change every year, the average residential taxes did change every year. And you can see they went from 15,160 to 15,926. That's a statistical fact. That's what happened here. And that's simply because your tax rate went from $2.29 to $2.41. So yes, the assessments didn't change in those 3 years, but also, yes, your taxes certainly did change on a year-to-year basis. There were the other statistic, which was interesting to me, is you had typically anywhere between 34 to 45
That's what I was just looking at. That's
appeals
a big difference.
at the county alone. We can talk about the state tax court, which is something different, but at County appeals I like to put on here because they usually get adjudicated within a calendar year. State tax appeals sometimes linger on for, as you know, for years and years and years. So it's kind of hard to.
I don't know the difference between I mean, I understand the difference between a county and a state, but how is that different? And could these numbers look different if we included state appeals? Like, would they?
Well, state appeals are typically the larger commercial appeals. So if your assessment is over a certain value, you can file straight to the tax court. Typically, residential properties are filed at the county tax court.
What's the threshold?
Whatever it is, $1 million, yeah.
And how many do you have that, like another column that has state appeals? Like, what do those look like now? Because now we have homes that are over $1 million.
Most of the homes, even though they're over $1 million, still initially file the county tax board. Then if they don't get the relief, they seek and they file up.
Oh, so it's like a first step is the county.
Yeah, most, I would say 95+% of residentials file at the county. And one of the reasons why the lawyers like filing at the county, as do homeowners like filing at the county, is you get an answer right away. The county appeals are usually heard in June and July, and they're almost immediately by August. State tax court sometimes can, especially through COVID, state tax court could linger on for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. So large commercials, yes, they do go to the tax court, but typically residentials are heard at the county.
And these are the number of county appeals which appear to have decreased. What's the Allendale 2,453 line items? Because our residential looks like we only have 2,257, or are those included apartments? Or
yeah, that's
more than what we have in the total number of items in the grand total.
Yeah, that includes non-taxable exempt properties as well. Even though they don't pay taxes, you have to put your tax exempt properties, vacant land, schools.
Oh, so the front page 2,382 is all taxable properties.
Correct.
And you're saying we have 2,453.
That's every parcel in town, correct,
Okay.
including non-taxable exempt properties.
Okay.
So you can see that, one of the benefits of the program is that we drastically decreased not only the number of appeals that are filed to the county tax board, but the actual reductions that were given as a result of judgments.
Yeah, and I guess that's the point I wanted to get to. So the advantage is not just that. So it's the reductions because why is that? I guess it's.
Well, okay, I'll give you a good example. In a non-reval, non-reassessment year, sometimes you have sales that take place that are higher than their assessments, and sometimes you have sales that take place that are lower than their assessments.
Mm-hmm.
The assessor can't arbitrarily adjust any assessment unless physical work is done to the house. That's the law. They're handcuffed, somewhat to speak. They can't make market adjustments without doing a plan like a reassessment. So rest assured, anyone that has a sale price and all the neighbors of like properties that use that sale price that is less than the assessment is going to file an appeal to the county, and most likely is going to win because it's good market evidence.
That margin of error, I guess.
Correct.
Tighter.
The properties that sell over the assessments can't be adjusted by the assessor upward. That it's considered discrimination. It's against state law. Again, the assessor is handcuffed without doing a reassessment. You could have 10 sales that are $500,000 above their $1 million assessments. You can't do anything until the next time you do a reassessment or revaluation. Called spot assessment. It's against the law. It's already been tried in court many years ago. So you see, you're in kind of a lose-lose situation where when there is some sort of gain in some section of the town, whether it be high-end properties, condos, commercials, downtown commercials, you can't recoup that value in a non-reassessment year. Conversely, if there's a reduction in some area of town or individual homes or some property class, whether it be the condos or the lower end properties, you're gonna lose it all through county tax appeals. When you do a reassessment each and every year, when those lower sales do come in certain market areas, you adjust it before it becomes an appeal. Now there's no appeal because it's already been adjusted. Remember, the appeals are filed 4 months after the tax list is submitted. Properties that are higher, you're gaining that. You're gaining that out. And that's why your annual reassessment really should be called more like a maintenance of assessments, where you can net things out. Because in my experience in Bergen County, not just Allendale, but in Bergen County, whenever you see a loss, whenever the market shows a loss in some particular class of properties or some area within a town, there almost always is a gain somewhere else. You know, the industrial market used to be depressed 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now it's the hottest commercial market of all the commercial types. Garden apartments, you know, I go on and on. It almost always kind of nets out.
And are we just talking in today's discussion about residentials? So you're not reassessing in the 5 years? Are they
All commercials are reassessed as well,
Every year,
yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
So aren't we, I mean, that's these appeals. Those from previous years, that's what's on our agenda.
You're always going to have appeals.
Well, these are all those commercials,
The
but
trick
I don't
is
know what year they're from.
is to
'Cause the tax year is
eliminate
21 and
all of the
Sure.
appeals where you potentially have exposure.
I think you're looking at the corporate, right?
yeah, and that's,
That deal goes back before we even started this.
well, that was what I was remembering because we talked about that, but I'm seeing that it says for the tax years 21 and 22.
But to
So I'm
give up-
confused about how,
Because to give up a previous year, so that, I mean, to give up a previous year, do something going forward. So that you're not paying corporate Levi.
Levi, yeah. So one of the deals with these appeals that have like many years, one of the strategies the tax attorneys do is they ask the plaintiff to withdraw the earlier years, but give them a little benefit of a better number going forward. And it's a strategy that the governing body could either accept or not want.
Oh, so they're from prior and then they just bumped
Yeah.
it to this year and
Yeah,
then they
so-
drop the one.
Right. So
Previous year, so you're not paying back on every year.
Okay.
yeah, so let's say your assessment's $1 million and they're looking for $800,000 and you want to fight them tooth and nail, but then there's 4 years. They might say, you
Right, so
know,
it's a negotiation.
yeah, let drop the first 3 years and we'll give you your 800,000.
Okay, did you have any question about that?
So the other thing which I just wanted to touch on is and it does make a difference in that when you look at this ratio in the third column, every year the state does a study where they take all of the sales and they divide them into the assessments and they come up with the ratio of the market sales to assessments. And you were in the lower 90 percentile, meaning that on average, the sales were coming in 6-7% higher than what the assessments were. And so they established this ratio, which they use for county tax purposes, the Allendale's percent of county taxes that they have to pay, the schools use them, and they're also used for tax appeals, meaning if somebody has $1 million assessment, but the town has a 90% ratio, it equalizes at 1.1 million, and you have to defend the 1.1 million. And if you can only defend the million, then they apply it and say a 90% ratio, and their assessment drops to 900,000. So you're losing $100,000 just based on a ratio. We call that like a ratio case. There's a lot of tax.
wait, go back and just explain this to me again. Sorry.
So every year in a non-reval, non-reassessment.
But
year.
we're revaling and assessing every year.
Right,
Yes.
so we get the benefit.
That's where I'm going.
That's what I want to
100%
understand.
ratio.
That's where I'm going with this. Right
Oh, I
now,
see.
you don't have to deal with this ratio because you're getting 100%.
Because we're at where we're at.
Right. So if you look at the third column, you see that it's 100% in the 3 years that I put while we're doing the program. But in the 3 years before you did the program, you had to deal with this ratio. Just
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
benefit that.
No, I
putting out
I
there.
totally understand the math of that. And I just want to, but being, just living in the area where we are, and not every town is doing the same
Reval.
process that we are. So if somebody's not doing that, their taxes are still going to be what they're going to be, because as you've said, they are what they are, because you have to raise a certain amount of money. But when they go to try to make an appeal, their value of their home is actually less. So they have a harder time, and maybe I'm wrong, this is where they'd have a harder time actually succeeding at their tax appeal. Would they?
No, because
Okay,
the
tell
reason why is because of this ratio. So let's use to make the math easy. Let's say your assessment's $1 million. And let's say that the town generally is about, sales are throughout town are 10% higher,
I see.
right?
Okay.
The state gives the town this 90% ratio, which means when they go to court, Angela and your attorney and your expert have to not defend $1 million. They have to defend $1 million divided by 0.90 equalized to 10%. They have to defend 1.1 million. So now it's easier for the homeowner to win that case because
You take that percentage and divide it into that assessed value. And as bad as it may be for the residential, where a municipality gets killed is on the commercial.
yeah,
That's
Right.
where you have a lot of exposure, and that's why it's better to always try to keep that ratio at that 100%.
Yeah, and I'm asking these questions not because I agree with you that it's a good thing for us to be continually up to it. I'm just trying to make sure that it's, because we have had a lot of questions, because a lot, and obviously it's a lot of residential questions. I don't hear, at least from the commercial owners, as much. So I just
so
want
like,
to make
let's
sure I
say-
understand.
yeah. So let's say Angela is to follow through with her point. So let's say the town comes up with this 90% ratio, and primarily, as a result of residential sales. Unfortunately, it gets applied to commercials.
I get it. Yeah.
So now you have a $5 million commercial who comes in and says, look,
I get it.
yeah,
All right, I have a question.
we're happy with
Before
the
we-
500.
Can I ask my question? So we have to pay a certain percentage to the county, so 10%. So we're at, say we're at 100%, and say Upper Saddle River, for example, is at 90 or some other town. Do we have to pay more of the county piece because we're at the higher assessed value than a town that's not properly assessed?
No, because the county does that same equalization.
Oh, okay.
Right. So if Upper Saddle River is, I believe they're pretty low. They're at like 50%.
They are, because we just went to the,
Yeah.
because their assessed value and their homes are the exact same as ours. They're
Right.
770, and their homes are much higher than ours.
Yeah, they just got ordered to do a reval.
They
But
got, I was wondering how they
but I think they're like 60%, I think. Yeah.
Really well.
they
So-
haven't done it for 5 years. So this is going to be the fifth year. Upper, yeah. That's what the school told us anyway.
2001. That's the last time they did it. And I know because I'm the last one who did it there.
Okay.
They did, so
Maybe
they're at like 50 or 60%, but the total aggregate of all assessments in Upper Saddle River gets equalized, that if it's 50%, it gets doubled.
Okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
that's
So
what I
then
did.
they're not paying 10% to the county, they're paying something more.
Correct. Correct.
So, all right. So my other question. So when we explain to the residents kind of how this whole process was rolling out, so how we told them in the very beginning, we said that and COVID kind of was in the middle of it, or the beginning of it, I should say, kind of messed it up. So everybody was going to get what I'm going to call a total evaluation, which means you go in the house, look at all the bathrooms, count everything. Each and every one. And then after that, we're doing 20% are going to get the total, and then the rest are going to have the one that you just kind of walk around the house. And then the next year, it would be another 20%
Yeah, no,
that was
that-
going to get the total.
There's a lot of confusion
Yeah.
surrounding this, so.
Okay, because that would be really
So-
helpful.
You have to separate out, we're actually doing two things, simultaneously. Number one, we're reassessing 100% of all properties each and every year based on the current market conditions.
But when you say reassess, is
Revalue.
that going in
Revalue.
the house?
No,
Value.
value, a new number
Okay,
Yeah.
for every parcel in town,
every year.
every
Right.
year.
Okay.
Based on the sales. The second thing you're doing is you are inspecting the properties for the purposes of verifying the data to make sure that what Angela has on her property record card is
Mhm.
exactly what exists there.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to do that to make sure you pick up, any work that was done,
Mhm.
or just to make sure that objective data is correct.
Mhm.
They're two different things.
And what percentage is done each year?
That's what we're doing 20% per year.
Okay, that's kind of what I was trying to meant.
So-
That's kind
so
of what I
a lot
meant.
of- a lot
So,
of-
Actually going in.
so that going in, it's only a chunk, the 20%.
You
So
don't.
the first year you went in, like everybody's,
Correct.
Maybe a
they're
tenth.
all getting evaluated 100%, but then what do you call that when you go in and do the full one? You'd call it something different? The inspection, you just call it?
Inspection, yeah.
Just an inspection?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was called something different. All right, so 20% are getting the actual inspection, but everybody else is getting reassessed based on the market.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
that's very simple. I don't know why that was so confusing.
Well, I think it's because people got letters that I think there was some misunderstanding that some people felt that they were
No, it-
penalized by having allowed somebody in during COVID, but then they got physically inspected and they got reassessed. And then their understanding was then the next year they also got reassessed because they were part of that 20%. And
Yeah,
that
because-
was where I
yes,
think
because
people got.
somebody has to be that first year out.
Yeah, and that was me.
Well, that's
I got
why we
twice
heard
there.
so much. So did we, but it was like, everyone, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, there has to be someone that gets,
So I will say this too, there has been, and it happened with my home as well, so that, you have the card that has the list of basement, bathrooms, blah, blah, blah. And then the next year, it's different. So like, it was inaccurate. So there was a couple times, and we've heard this through residents too, it wasn't necessarily, it would be a fireplace was missing, or a fireplace was added on, or a kitchen that was new, it was really old. So I was just curious how something like that would happen if you have the records. Wouldn't that
if
say?
you don't let us in, if you don't let someone in, you're probably going to assume that your house has been updated. We're not gonna leave it as old, we're gonna leave it as it's been updated, unless you let us in to see that it's not.
So you just make assumptions that people redid so then people really need to look at their cards.
You should.
Yeah, the first year that we did this was very similar to, say, a revaluation. And the standard practice of revaluation is, especially a lot of towns, you have difficulty getting inside the town. And there's always a big concern, well, if you don't get inside these towns, you're going to miss people who updated their kitchens and their bathrooms.
Especially since now there is no requirement
Right.
for that kitchen and bathroom. No
Permit,
requirement.
yeah.
Right. So we estimated a good chunk of the town in that year one, and left those blue cards, which said, okay, we were at your house twice, we didn't get in. We're going to assume that you have an updated kitchen. If you don't, please call us and we'll come back
A
out
lot
to
of
see
people
it.
call.
And what is new? Like, what is
I
considered
think it's
updated?
15 years.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
Because
not.
they thought mine was new. And I'm
Not
like,
even,
Well,
not
I'm
even,
Yeah,
not even, I mean,
my
we're
card was
pretty,
totally-
we're not gonna nitpick somebody who might have done something within 5-10, like, it's pretty, it has to be pretty blatant, you have a 1960s, 70s, 80s house, and you just did the kitchen within the last, say, 4 or 5 years, okay? then it has to be, striking to the inspector, like, okay, this is a new kitchen in a 1960s built or 70s.
I mean, because for people that got things that said it was new, they probably need to have some sort of like a gauge, like, because I mean, people could be penalized the other way where they're like, oh, well, 10 years
This is
old, that's
modern.
really is new. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
really, they didn't have it updated in that time frame either. So, all right, so that's good. It's a 5-year look back. Is that appropriate?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So now just to summarize the bullet point benefits of doing this every year. I talked about, to me, it stabilizes the average residential tax by doing this. And you can see with these numbers that the average residential tax is more stabilized and the tax rate is more stabilized. It puts your ratio at 100% every year, so you don't have to worry about the ratio causing problems with appeals. We are doing inspections each and every year, which will only help make the data more accurate. We reduce the number of county appeals filed each year, but more importantly, we reduce the actual refunds that are given, and I think the statistics bear that out. And as far as the state tax court is concerned, it allows us to eliminate any, large exposure cases with commercials, whether it be because of a sale, whether it be because of a large tenant moved out. We make the adjustment before it becomes an appeal.
Yeah.
I
We've
can
been
tell you
hit.
that the attorneys who work solely for tax appeals, they hate these programs because you're basically taking work away from them by doing this. That's why more and more towns are starting to do this. There's at least about 35, 36 now doing it.
And just in the chapter 123 ratio, that's that number you're talking
That's
about.
the ratio.
And is that we were originally trending at 93.8 prior. Is that what it was?
Oh yeah, that's what it would have been.
Yeah.
Had you not done that first year.
Okay. Helpful.
Any other questions? We only have 3 more minutes before our regular session, so.
How do you verify what is on your card if you don't have the card anymore? I know there's like somewhere online that you can.
Oh, you call our number, we'll get it right to you. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We do that a lot. We especially with email, a lot of people request their record card and we usually turn it around the same day. Just email it, fax it.
Oh, there isn't a database and online like.
I think, I think especially now with the Daniels law, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks very much.
Very helpful.
Yes, it was. Very informed. All right, we have 2 minutes for public comment. Does anybody from the public wish to speak? And if we have to cut you off, I apologize, but then we can continue.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that.
State your name.
Nancy Boydnott, 3 Fox Run. I'd like to know how much we spend on this reevaluation each year.
It's a total of $200,000 for 5 years.
So
That's the total.
Total for 5 years?
Yeah, but the year one was the bigger year. I think it's much less per year. Yeah, by the way, that first year, which was the more expensive than all total inspections, so long as you keep the program going, you never have to do that again. You can just keep going year.
So it's around 50 a year?
45?
45 to 50 a year.
45.
we should know that, right?
Yeah.
We should know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should know what the number is. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Night. Thanks.
Positive, 200
Well,
Well, no,
and
it
the
would have
total
been 200 for the
for 5 years.
first.
Yeah, it's not
No, it's
prorated
not.
equally.
You would have paid,
Yeah.
you would have paid a bulk amount that first year and then every year after that.
Yes,
Yeah.
good. I'll cut in 1 minute though. 1 minute. We have 1 minute before we do that.
Oh, we can adjourn now.
Okay,
Unless-
motion to adjourn?
So moved, Tolman.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
Started. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular mayor and council meeting. It is April 27th. It is 8 p.m. Hello to everybody in the audience. Hello to everybody at home. Can you please read the open public meeting announcement, Linda?
In
And take
compliance
roll.
with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the municipal building and on the borough website, published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year, and copies are sent to the Ridgewood News and Star Ledger. Notice of this meeting by the April 18th, 2023 Sunshine Notice was sent to the record, the Ridgewood News and Star Ledger, and has been posted on the public bulletin board in the municipal building and borough website. Councilwoman Homan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lovasolo.
Here.
Councilman O'Connell.
Here.
Councilman O'Toole.
Here.
Councilman Yakarino.
Here.
Councilman Delavatio. Absent. Mayor Wolzinski.
Here. Okay, everybody please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Looks like we have some people in the audience.
Yeah.
Nice to see
Nice
you
to
all.
not talk to chairs. All right, next we have the approval of minutes, April 13, 2023. Matt, I believe you have to abstain.
I would be abstaining.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second O'Connell.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Homan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lovasolo.
Yeah.
Councilman O'Connell.
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole.
Abstain.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
Okay, next we have resolution 23-118. This is to revise the time of the mayor and council meetings. We are going to start at 7:30 and roll right into our regular session, just streamlining the process. Nothing major has changed. We're still starting at 7:30. We'll still have public comment and all of that. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Holman.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Homan.
Great use of time. Yes.
Councilwoman
Streamline.
Lovasolo.
Okay, yes.
Councilman O'Connell.
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole.
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
That was one of the things I wanted to do when I became mayor, was streamline processes and clunky things, and that was one of them. So you'll all benefit. Okay, next we have introduction of ordinances. A lot of these ordinances are actually just cleaning up the language that we have, but one is actually our capital ordinance. So this is the introduction of the ordinance. This is the first reading of the ordinance, and then the approval and public comment will be May 11th, 2023, 7:30 p.m. right here in Allendale in the council chambers. Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 23-09?
So moved.
Second, please.
Lovasolo.
Linda, will you please take roll call and read the ordinance, please?
Okay. Ordinance 23-09. Bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new additional or replacement equipment and machinery, new information technology equipment, new additional furnishings, and new automotive vehicles, including original apparatus and equipment in, by, and for the Borough of Allendale in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $1,390,500 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment or fully fund appropriations from the Capital Improvement Fund, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Councilwoman Homan.
Yes.
Councilwoman Lovasolo.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connell.
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole.
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have ordinance 23-10. It's an ordinance to amend, supplement, revise section 62, vehicles and traffic. This is to also clean up the language for our commuter parking. We had some old language in there, so we are actually updating it for our new electronic meters. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have to
Second.
announce the time again since it's okay. This is first ordinance and it is introduced, the first reading. The vote and the public comment will be set for May 11th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. in the council chambers. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
Linda, please.
Councilwoman Holman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lovasolo,
Yes.
Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
You have to read it, please.
No. Ordinance 23-10, an ordinance to amend, supplement, and revise Article, 6, Section 62C of Chapter 252 of the Borough Code of the Borough of Allendale entitled Vehicles and Traffic.
Okay, next we have, see, I did 10, I did 11, ordinance 23-12, ordinance to amend, supplement, and revise the code, the Borough of Allendale. This is to clean up some language for the Goose Patrol, and this is first reading. The second reading and the public comment will be set for May 11th, 7:30 p.m. or after, right here in council chambers in Allendale. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second, Lovasolo.
Okay.
Okay, ordinance 23-11, an ordinance to amend, supplement, and revise the Code of the Borough of Allendale, Chapter 6. Councilwoman Homan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lovasolo,
Yes.
Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
Okay, next we have ordinance 23-12. This is to also clean up our language with regards to the planning board. We actually now have it called the land use board. We merged our planning board and our board of adjustments to make one board to make it easier and streamline processes for residents. This is first reading. The second reading and public comment will be set for May 11th, 2023 at 7:30 right here in council chambers in the Borough of Allendale. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Lovasolo.
Second, please.
Second.
Linda, will you please read the title and roll call?
Ordinance 23-12, an ordinance to amend, supplement, and revise the Code of the Borough of Allendale, Chapter 40. Councilwoman Homan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lovasolo,
Yes.
Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Yes.
Okay, next we have our consent agenda. This is very routine items. The only thing on here that is probably worth mentioning is that we have our Crestwood Lake salaries. So that means we are getting into Crestwood Lake season, which is fun and exciting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Holman.
Second, please.
Second, O'Connell.
Roll call, Linda.
Councilwoman Homan,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lovasolo,
Yes.
Councilman O'Connell,
Yes.
Councilman O'Toole,
Yes.
Councilman Yakarino.
Abstain on 23-135, vote yes on the ballot.
Excellent. All right, next we have unfinished business. Anybody have any unfinished business? All right, anybody have any new business? Yeah. Public comment. All right, next we'll do our committee reports. Councilman O'Connell.
Thank you, Mayor. With the DPW, we had to borrow a roll-off from Ramsey, and Dan Rich is working on repairing ours. And we wanted to thank Ramsey's DPW for Lenny for the use of one of his 3 roll-offs as well. We have several projects going, including the Pop Tower band shell right in the front of the band shell, going very well. And we had Dirt Day, April 15th. I'd like to thank the mayor for coming.
My dirt.
Councilman Delaluso was here for all day, and I'd like to thank Mr. Kistner for being there as well.
How many cars do we have, Ed?
We had 142 cars come through to pick
Incredible.
up some dirt. Granted, some of them came 7 or 8 times, but they only spilled up a
People
little.
really love free dirt in Allendale.
Yeah.
They
They
do.
only filled up a little bucket. They said, we have to come back. And I said, come back as often as you like, but the gates are getting shut at 2.
No, I actually live on the street. There is a line all the way down the street. It
There
was
really was.
hysterical. And I was just walking up and down, talking to people. They're like, "Are you the greeter?" I'm like, "Actually, I am. I'm the greeter. I'm here to greet you all."
We had about 5 or 10 minutes where we had no one coming through and then the line started again. So I will be talking with Ron for possibly another dirt day, and
We have gold in our dirt in
We'll
Allendale.
do wood chips as well long as the residents are not to put the wood chips by their homes.
We'll set it up.
Certified wood, but the wood chips can be.
But we're gonna pick a date in the future and see if we can do wood chips and dirt and see how crazy that can be. Maybe we'll have it.
I'll have my- Sounds good.
But that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you again.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilwoman Lovasolo.
So thank you, Mayor. I don't have much to report on finance admin for this time. We're still working on a few things, but most of that was heard at the last council meeting. I do want to take this time, though. I'm also on the library board, as is the mayor, and I just wanted to report out some things going on with the library. First one's very exciting. In Allendale, we used to have an Allendale Newcomers Club that I believe is not really operational much anymore.
No, it's not at all.
So our Lee Memorial Library on May 12th from 7 to 9 p.m., the library will be hosting a gathering for residents new to Allendale in the past 3 years. This welcome event will offer our newest neighbors who may not have had the ability to do so during the height of the pandemic an opportunity to mingle with fellow adults in a relaxed environment with refreshments and music. A list of Allendale babysitters composed of scouts who have received babysitting training and certification will be furnished to the registrants. Those wishing to attend are asked to RSVP to the library at info@allendale.bccls.org. The Library Capital Planning Committee has begun its work on a new 3-year strategic plan for the facility. The upgrades will include things such as electric service, repairs, and maintenance. The Friends of the Library is a 501c3 organization formed to support the library's special projects and its bonus offerings, those exceptional products and services whose costs are beyond the scope of the basic budget. And it's kicked off its 2023 fundraising campaign. A letter, probably all of us here have received it already, was sent to every resident and business in the borough in April, soliciting monetary contributions to advance these efforts. Anyone who has ever borrowed a museum pass, read the digital New York Times or Wall Street Journal, or attended library programs among the many other library offerings has benefited from the Friends' efforts. All are encouraged to participate. And I think I want to start at every council meeting too, a little like, did you know kind of thing about the library also. So did you know that you can borrow a laminator, from the library with a library card. So like when Matt wants to laminate his, recipe cards, you can borrow from the library. Yeah. I also want to remind everyone this Saturday is History Day. The John Fell House in town, in conjunction with 9 other historic sites in the area, will be having an open house from 10 till 4 o'clock. So we encourage everyone to come out and visit the Fell House. It's $10. And it gets you past to all 10 historic sites that include like the Hopper Goich's house, the I forget what else. The Brisky House, the Hermitage, yes. So it's a great day. And then on May 20th, we're going to do our kind of spring cleaning environmental day in Allendale again. At Borough Hall, there's going to be a paper shredding event from 9 until 1. Was it just up? That was timely. The John Fell House again is going to be doing a clothing drive from 10 until 2. You can drop off your bags of clothing at the John Fell House. And then we're also going to be doing an electronic recycling event with its location yet to be determined. It's either going to be here at Borough Hall or perhaps at the Fell House. That is it.
Excellent. That's a very good report. Thank you very much. Councilwoman Homan.
Oh, yeah. Well, I cannot ignore the Girl Scouts being out there. I know we'll talk to you all later, but I was fortunate enough to be a Girl Scout leader for 16 years.
Yes,
she
she
was.
was.
And
Leader.
I had 2 troops and we had so much fun. We did camping, learned horse riding. We went to Rocking Horse Ranch. And most of all, we had an awesome time at all of our meetings. And the girls have stayed friends, even though my last one is in college, and they still get together and they had a great time. So they did their bronze awards and their silver awards. And quite a number of them actually got their gold awards, actually. Mary Wilzinski's daughter, she got her gold award. So I had a bunch of girls. So I'm so glad to see you all here. You're awesome. So we'll make sure we give you a round of applause later, okay? Water, the progress continues on the list of items that our legal and engineering and Ron coordinating our team with Veolia to ensure that we can take in chunks of the $3.5 million that is still in escrow. We do have a meeting all together as a water committee team on a week tomorrow. And it's definitely moving forward. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts between the trains and Celery Farm and everywhere like that. And the progress on the temporary water treatment at New Street is going well. The actual PFAS treatment tanks have been moved inside of what was the old water building. And ideally, this will be continued to be worked on all summer and will go online in the fall. And we'll keep you improved about that. Well 11 continues to be offline, and John Gill, along with Deborah Weil from Veolia, and I myself will be trying to get a letter of communication out to residents, just how we can work together during a time that everybody loves to use a lot of water in the spring and the summer to continue to keep that well offline. If it needs to go on because too much water is being used, then it will go on because we can't have the system lose pressure. And sewers, Ray Wiss and his firm are working on the new contracts with Saddle River and Ramsey. And primarily this is to ensure that billing is done equitably, as well as repairs and any maintenance that will also be borne. So good progress.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your report. Councilman O'Toole,
Thank you, Mayor.
your report.
Quick report this evening.
Okay.
This afternoon, the Allendale Police hosted numerous other police departments at the firehouse for their laser speed certification.
I waved to them when I went by.
Slowly, I
I did go by slowly.
Yeah.
I was like, hello.
You would have been in
I
charge.
know exactly how fast you're going.
They were very serious.
Some of our officers are involved in teaching recruits at the police academy, which is great because we have 2 recruits moving through the academy right now. So it's nice to have representation up there. As we prepare for the departure of some of our officers, the Public Safety Committee is conducting interviews with candidates who have their PTC certification already and therefore do not have to go through the academy. One conditional offer was offered and accepted, and our interviews continue, including one next week. Our next scheduled committee meeting is this coming Tuesday. That's all I've got.
On the calendar, that's enough. All right, Councilman Yakarino.
Thank you, Mayor. Another quick report this evening. We have a lot of our projects that are moving along in the spring that we continue to really try to push forward here. Some improvements at Borough Hall, Crestwood Lake. As Ed mentioned, we got the clock tower and the seating in front of the band shell moving along. Thanks to Ron for his efforts with those projects. He's been a big help, and thanks, Ron, for all your help. I really do appreciate it. Crestwood, as Amy mentioned, we're getting ready to open in about a month on Memorial Day weekend. So we're really looking forward to that because I know everybody in the town, one way or another, enjoys the lake. So we're really excited to do that. With regards to the band, we may be looking to add a special edition to our set list this year, but stay tuned. But we're working on that, so hopefully we'll be getting the newsletter out soon. I know I owe John some information, but that's definitely something that we're going to wrap up. And other than that, things are moving along.
Excellent.
Short report, but
And
Oh,
summer's coming.
Which is
yes.
after this weekend. Okay, now we'll have our staff reports. Linda, do you have a staff report?
Yes,
Our
I do.
clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. The last day to register to vote for the June 6th primary election is May 16th. The clerk's office will be open until 9 p.m. for voter registration. and I believe Crestwood Lake registration, compost permit. May 8th, I will be attending training on the new voting equipment, which will be used in the upcoming June 6th primary and going forward for all elections.
Excellent. John, do you have a report?
Newsletters we compiled for May. To get that out a little bit earlier because we have some great events coming up. So everyone get that's going to be by early next week. That'd be great. I can really get that out in the fall.
All right, excellent. Thank you. Commissioner, Director of Operations, Commissioner, County Commissioner. Yes, that's right.
Couple of things, different hats I wear. Myself
Yeah.
and Mike Brewer, I'm meeting with the borough engineer, meeting with the Northwest Bergen County Utility Authority tomorrow to confirm the 25% of the 25% of the 2023 sewer clean out and inspection. We do that. We try to attempt to do 25% of our sewer system a year. It's been a very successful preventive maintenance program. I don't want to jinx it, but we haven't had a backup since we implemented this program, I think 5 years ago. And I just jinxed it. But that and also they will also do, we have 765 catch basins, I believe, and they do 125. We budgeted how many catch basins, retention basins that they can clean out for us, inspect, and then give us a report on which ones are in poor shape, and then we have them repaired as much as we can budget-wise.
Do they often have clogs connecting them? Is that like from the leaves? Like, do they have to pull out like between the storm drains? Do they?
The catch,
Yeah, the catch basins. I'm talking
Some
about.
with the new sweeper that you guys got us last year, and Dan Davis has been sweeping. I think Dan Davis operates the machine the best. He sweeps 3 out of 5 days since March. That helps alleviate a lot of the leaves in the
All right.
because they stay on top instead
Yeah.
of being
Okay.
pushed down.
Yeah. Somebody asked whether or not they're.
They do clean them, but they haven't been as bad as every year we do this. It seems to be because now we're almost to the point of back to the original ones we did 5 years ago.
Like
So,
reassessing.
yeah,
Keep up
so
with
same
it.
thing, so same concept.
We're getting on a program.
Theme of the meeting.
Preventive maintenance is a wonderful thing because it's less phone calls late at night for me. So I like preventive maintenance. I'm happy insurance wise. I want to thank all my coworkers and the whole mayor and council for their assistance. We had our Bergen County insurance meeting the other day, and I think for the first time for the borough, we received the Gold Award. It's a nice plaque, but more importantly, we got a $1,000 check sent to us. And that also, what seriously that means is that our employees have been safe. We have our insurance inspections by our insurance carrier. We seem to be, we're in good shape that way. And it's nice to acknowledge that we got the Gold Award, which is a lot of the bigger towns get that, but they actually have a whole department, who basically deals with their insurance. Here between a lot of the new people, Linda and John and Linda's office, we got that done just among ourselves. That's a great thing. And also regards to insurance, the first quarter insurance reports had to be filed, which I do. I'm very proud to say it had to be done online. I actually didn't have to call John for a change. I did that by myself.
Bravo, Ron.
I'm very proud of myself. I like the old fashioned. I used to fill it in with pen and email it, but
then you have to clean the screen.
Oh, it's done online. I got it done. So we're up to our first floor reports are filed. Our state reports are done for the right to know for all our buildings. That was completed. And also last week, I did need help on the stormwater report, which is due to the state. Mr. Vreeland helped me. We got that filed. And it looks like we qualify for a $25,000 grant for tier A.
I saw that.
Yeah, so we're getting.
Yeah, and she said that was the easy one to file, so let's do it.
Well, that's right. Well, we didn't use Bruno Sosa. We actually did it ourselves. So that was, so we'll be getting another $25,000 for being in compliance with our stormwater regulations. So good stuff. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, and Mr. Borgi, do we have a report from you?
Just very briefly, Mayor, as alluded to already, we're continuing to work on facilitate the items needed for the sale of the water facility, as well as the agreement with Saddle River and sewer. And then finally, we're continuing on 220, where needed, coordinating with council for Hampshire and anything that needs to be done to move that forward.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, so my mayor's report. Also just wanted to mention that Crestwood Lake registration is open and we're hoping for a banner year this year. We have a great lineup of bands, thanks to Tyler. And it's going to be a super duper year. People are actually coming out of the woodworks wanting to play, like even like kids and stuff. So we could even have fillers.
Really, you know, we have
Could be
actually a couple
fun.
more in the works too. But
Yeah, it could be
definitely
fun.
A lot of people this year.
So Linda, you already talked about the voting. I just wanted to talk about 220 West Crescent, formerly Black Millwork. If everybody has driven by on West Crescent, you can see that there's two big towers. One's the stair tower. One is the elevator tower. You could also see the framework going up. If you look closely, you could almost see it's a shape of a U, the courtyard that is going to be there for the 70 units. Our community center is going to be right in front of that. It's actually going to be attached to that building. So those two towers are going to be up there. Our community center is going to be right in front. Our community center on one side is going to be a gym. It's going to have a kitchen that's going to open up into the gym. So if the Girl Scouts want to bake cookies or something like that, it's going to have a full kitchen. On the other side, it's going to be a big community room. There's going to be a divider in the middle. So it could be used for a bunch of different organizations in town. We're going to have a focus group with all pieces of people from every organization. And it's going to be for Allendale residents. It's going to be exclusive for Allendale residents. We're not going to rent it out. The gym is a full-size Brookside middle school gym. So it's regulation middle-sized gym. There will also be lines for pickleball. It's going to be a wood floor. So it will be, you know, a nice floor. It can accommodate all sports, multi-sports, basketball, pickleball, volleyball, etc. And I just wanted to also just bring up how fortunate we are that we did have the foresight to purchase this property. If you look in other towns, there's an explosion of condos everywhere. I was just talking to somebody from Montvale, their population more than doubled in the past 5 years. So I know sometimes 70 units seems like a lot to some people, but it's not. And it was from careful planning, from prior administrations as well. So we're very, very fortunate that we bought this property and we have control of the property for the character of the town, which was one of the main reasons for buying the property. We are also working on a grant for tennis courts. Our tennis courts, we put the sport court on it about I think 7 or 8 years ago with a grant. It's wearing out a little bit, so we're going to actually make that pickle/tennis courts. We're applying for a grant now. Tyler and I are going to be working on that grant
This weekend
to get that in, and it might be over 2 years. It's not going to happen this year. The grant is going to be put in this year for next year and possibly the year after because it's going to be quite expensive. There's a lot of damage to our prior tennis courts. They've been there for over 40 years. There's massive cracks. Engineering has to be done to get them up to working, which is why we just put the sport court over it about 7 or 8 years ago, because tennis was a dying sport back then, and pickleball was not even in anywhere. It was people's lives back then. It was not even around. So, so we're really, really excited about that, and that's really going to make that up there beautiful because we have the new band shell, and with the new grass, it's going to just be great. New playground. We're getting a new fence for the playground as well, so that's all coming along. We met with the superintendent of the Brookside School and Hillside School, Mr. Barker DePone. The school is doing great things. We went over the budget. We went over all of the great, exciting programs that they're starting to bring in. There's going to be a beautiful outdoor area that they're looking to promote, and that's going to be, I think, May 3rd, they're going to be talking about that to all the residents. So we got a sneak peek of that. So it was really excited. Yeah. 3 of us on this dais attended the Women's Club fashion show last year, which is always last night.
Guess who's 3? Guess who's 3?
Matt, how'd you like it?
We like to always support our organizations in town. It's always for a great cause. And the borough also always donates one of the grand prizes, which is a Crestwood Lake membership. And I think that is it for me. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so now we have public comments. So this is the time if anybody from the public would like to come up and speak, come on up.
what's,
Good evening. We are Girl Scout Troop 97926 from Allendale, and we are in 4th grade. We have been working on our Take Action project. For this project, we needed to come up with something we could do to change something for the better forever. We decided to plant a tree in our town. We want to plant it in Memorial Park for many reasons. We are hoping that you will give us permission for this. There are many reasons why we think this is a great idea that you should allow us to do. Trees are very important to Earth and for the community. In town, trees have been knocked down in our many storms. Some trees are getting old and are not as stable. People are also cutting down trees around the area, and we want to plant more. Trees are vital to our Earth. They give us oxygen and store carbon so that we don't have as much carbon, which is harmful to the Earth. It helps Earth by not having as many gas as other things. It's good for climate change. We should plant a tree at Memorial Park specifically because it'll give shade at the parade. It also gets very hot, so our tree will give people a chance to cool down. Without a tree, people will burn. Nobody wants burning people, right? After the Memorial Day parade, during the ceremony, everybody's trying to get a spot in the shade. With this tree, there will be more shade and less people struggling to find spots to sit.
Another reason you should let us plant a tree is because it brings people together. It helps bring people together by being a gathering spot for people to make memories. It helps bring people together because they could remember their times as a scout if they were one.
Trees also provide food and shelter for animals and insects. Squirrels find their nuts, birds can make their nests, and much more. Are we going to plant this tree?
That's okay. Take your time.
How are we going to plant this tree? We are going to get help from our parents that are really good with planting and have knowledge of trees. If we need to, we will ask a landscaper to offer assistance. The legacy maple is the tree that we chose to plant. We chose this tree because it is resistant to wind and is an ideal shade tree. It is beautiful in the fall and is adaptable to soil. It is a low maintenance tree and loves sunlight. This tree can live 400 years, and we think it would be perfect to plant in our community. To wrap it all up, we want to get permission to plant a tree at Memorial Park by Park Avenue in Allendale for our Take Action project. We want this to replace downed trees, to get more shade in this part of town, especially at the Memorial Day ceremony, and to help our Earth, to bring people together, and to be a habitat for animals. Finally, as you can see, we put a lot of thought and work into this idea. It would be amazing for it to work. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we're wondering, what do you think?
Wow, that was amazing. I really don't know how I could possibly say no. Sure. Actually, no, yeah, and Legacy Maple, you guys did a great job in researching because that is a really good tree. And our Veterans Park is a very, very special park, and we don't actually let just anybody plant trees there because that is a park that our veterans come and reflect, and they are very particular about their trees in there. And I have a feeling they're not going to have any problem with this, but I will definitely double check. But I will say that we are, I would speak for everybody here that we support it.
Absolutely.
100%.
100%.
All right. Mr. Kistner, we can make this happen. All right. So.
And I love all the great things you had to say about trees up at the high school. The kids are studying about photosynthesis and about how trees take carbon out of the air and how they give us oxygen. So that's awesome that you're learning about that right now. So good job.
Super. Does anybody have anything else? Any other comments? Yes? No? All right. You guys did a great job. Anybody else from the public like to speak? All right. With that, meeting adjourned. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All right. All in favor?
Aye. And then a great note.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.